And while I understand that they're trying to express their hurt, what they're actually doing is reflecting the same level of bias that they felt they received on the other person. Hello, everybody, and welcome. Today, I wanted to talk about acceptance a little bit. And the reason I wanted to go into this topic was because earlier today I was called a fascist by somebody. I think it was ridiculous that they called me this, and I'm not really sure how they got that particular interpretation given the subject that we were discussing, which was the potentials hidden within humans and my concept of allowing people the freedom to explore the best versions of themselves. So I have no idea how this person interpreted what I was saying, which was essentially we need to find harmony through human evolution and psychological development, and transitioned it into that particular understanding. But, whatever the case may be, that's kind of what happened. It was very hurtful to me because what she said was essentially, you are a fascist, and then she said fascism is evil, which in my perspective meant that she essentially said you are evil. And even though there are many kinds of insults to give, I can't personally think of a worse one than you are evil, because that is essentially the root of every discriminatory statement ever made, is that you are somehow wrong, bad, or evil in some way. So yes, it was not fun. I did not like it. I didn't feel offended particularly by the term fascist because I know that's not true. But one of the things that I asked her to do was to please stop calling me names and to respect and try to listen to what I was saying, to try to see the validity in the concepts that I had been presenting. And she essentially told me, I have been listening to what you said, and I wish I didn't hear what you had to say because it's fascist and all these other things. And I'm like, well, clearly you're not understanding what I'm saying, because I just told you multiple times that that is not what I said. And it is certainly not what I meant, and it is certainly not what I believe. So, obviously there was a huge miscommunication error going on here. There was a lot of mistranslation, and I think to a certain degree there was some hurt on both her and my parts. I know I was very hurt by her statement. I tried to handle it as best I could. I mean, obviously when somebody calls you a name of any sort, and you feel hurt or misunderstood, to a certain extent your fight instinct is triggered. I tried very hard to maintain my control over the situation, but I did end up saying a couple of things to her which were not exactly great, but most of you guys would probably be like, that's nothing. One of the things that I said was, have fun with your bias, even though you say that's something that you particularly fight against. And then another one where she told me that she's hearing all these things in my statement. I said, you need to get your ears cleaned. So yes, I'm not particularly proud of those responses. I'm not glad that I had this conversation, and I kind of wish to a certain extent that it hadn't happened. But at the same time, I feel like it opens up a new kind of conversation that I don't know if I've ever had with you guys about the concepts of acceptance. So, first of all, this particular individual believes in communistic ideas. And I know a lot of you guys would probably be like, well, Allie, that alone should be enough to make you dismiss her completely. But as somebody who advocates the concept that every person has something of value to offer, has some truth in their perspective, that was not something I was about to do. So I was trying to have a conversation with her to understand her perspective and to explain mine. And, that led to this whole hurtful aspect that came up. So she believes in communistic ideas, believes in the concept of equality, all around distribution of resources and whatnot. And I don't actually have anything against communism. I actually think it's a highly likely eventuality that our country and the world will become slightly communistic due to technological development, but that is hardly the point. So, in many regards, she and I were agreeing on many of the subjects that we had been discussing, The way in which we differed was she believes that change cannot come outside of violence and struggle. And I was essentially saying that I don't want the world or people to go through depression and massive death and struggle in order to reach this place of a more equal divide of resources. And she was essentially saying that you have to go through this in order to reach that point of equal share. I don't agree. So that was kind of the extent of that conversation. But as I'm talking to her, and as she's saying things like, I am listening to you, I am understanding, I came to a realization that even if you think that you're listening to somebody else, the second that you say, I am understanding you, this is what you're saying, you're actually making a judgment of them, and you're saying, I know you better than you know yourself. This is what you meant. And as common as it is to make a statement like that, I don't think most people realize how hurtful that is. Because you're essentially telling somebody they're an idiot and stupid. And that's not going to come off well in any realm. It's really not fun to be called stupid. It's really not fun to be completely discredited. And it's really not fun to feel completely misunderstood. So, as you can probably tell, this stuff really pisses me off. I really hate it when somebody does this to me. You know, when somebody essentially puts words in my mouth, essentially tells me this is what I believe, this is what I think, or completely dismisses my idea just because they don't agree with it. So I'm encouraging you guys not to do this stuff because it is really hurtful. It is really, really mean. And I don't understand why this is a thing. One of the things that I thought about when I was coming up with this concept, when I was thinking about how to make this video, is kind of like if you look at racism or if you look at sexism or any of these other things, we have this idea that, you know, there are certain terms you can't say to somebody. Like for a person of color, I hope that's the right term. I never know. Every now and then I get some slang thrown up back at me for saying certain things. So I'm trying to be politically correct here, guys. So for a person of color, if you say use a different term that they don't like, oftentimes they're going to throw back the word racist at you like it's no big deal. Like that's just something they can apply to anybody at any given time. And while I understand that they're trying to express their hurt, what they're actually doing is reflecting the same level of bias that they felt they received on the other person. And that was similar to what happened here. I said something that she didn't like. She called me a term to say essentially that that phrase or that idea hurt my feelings, didn't agree with me, or whatever the case may be. So she put this label on me, which was really hurtful, really biased, and I withdrew. You know, I felt hurt. I backed off. It was like I got punched. So similarly with racism, you know, somebody says a term that another person interprets as derogatory, they feel like they just got punched, so they punch back. And then this person goes, holy cow, I didn't know I punched you. Like, what happened? And that was kind of me today, where she felt punched, so she punched me back, and then I went, what? I punched you? Like, I didn't realize. And this is where the issue comes up, because she was saying she understood me. She was saying that she knew where I was coming from, that she knew what I was trying to say, and then when I told her that that was not what I meant to say, that was not my intention, she said, yes, it was, and basically dismissed me entirely as an individual. This is a problem. You can't communicate when two people are going at each other like it's life or death. You can't communicate when two people are fighting for power or trying to win an argument. I mean, there is a problem with the argument style that we use so often, and that is there is a winner and there is a loser. And it might be nice to be the winner, but it really sucks to be the loser. And oftentimes, the way we declare the winner is the person who beats up on the other one the most and leaves them bleeding, broken, or dead on the street. That's not a win from my perspective, but that's kind of what happened to me today, and it felt like it too. So here I am, still angry about this, hours later, trying to get my emotional state back to equilibrium, hopefulness, positivity, and struggling, because I just can't believe that somebody would do that. I just can't believe that somebody would throw out a term like that, which could potentially destroy somebody's life if they were, say, famous. I mean, if she threw that term at somebody in politics, that person's career could be ended just like that. And even though I'm not facing that kind of repercussion, I do think that's something we need to be aware of. I mean, throwing these derogatory terms, throwing these words out there saying this is who you are, this is what you are, and how dare you, is a problem. We need to start coming at conversation, we need to start coming at relationship from a place of understanding and forgiveness. And I'm not seeing that in a lot of interactions that I have. I do see it in a lot as well, but it's the ones that I don't see it in that end up leaving me in this kind of depressed, hopeless state, which I'm currently in right now. These are the situations where I feel pissed and angry. And while I understand that this is a normal place for a lot of people, it is not for me, and I don't understand why people want to continue to live here, because it sucks. I don't understand why somebody would want to be angry all the time. It's really not fun. And I know a lot of people who are consistently stuck at an emotional level of anger, resentment, fear, or hatred. So we really need to start looking at the world, expecting the best from people, rather than expecting them to hurt you, expecting them to be mean and angry. We need to start expecting the best. We need to start thinking that everybody is out trying to understand us, trying to help, and trying to encourage all of society to grow in a positive direction. And until we can do that, we're going to keep running into these issues. So if you find yourself in a situation like this, if you find yourself feeling judged, if somebody is coming back at you saying, hey, you just hurt me, I definitely encourage you to try to explain and express yourself, and to declare that that was not your intention, but also to understand that they are reacting from a place of hurt themselves, and that you need to be understanding and forgiving of their behavior, even though it was hurtful. And you also should encourage them to be that way with you. One of the things that drives me insane is this idea that we all, or that any of us, has the whole answer. And I think that's where this whole fascist comment that she threw out at me really got me too, was this whole idea that she had the answer and that I was therefore empirically wrong. That really sucks. But when you think you have the answer, anybody coming in with an opposing opinion is going to feel like an attack. And it's not because they're attacking you, it's just because they disagree. And you think you have the answer. So if they say something that makes sense to you and you can't argue it, you're going to react like you've just been punched, kind of like I was saying earlier. So probably the number one starting point for this, the number one place to come at this for deeper understanding, is realizing that even if you know some percentage of the truth, it is only ever a part. You cannot and will not ever know the full truth and the full answer. Additionally, no answer is correct for every human. So even if you have the answer for you, it may not be the answer for them. And this whole concept of a societally accepted or a societal belief structure is slightly ridiculous too. I mean, I like some of the ideas in communism, but I don't believe you should force anybody to do anything. And if you're forcing somebody to live in a communistic society, you're still forcing them. So whether you believe in capitalism, communism, fascism, or whatever, you still should never force your beliefs on somebody else. And that is probably the last comment I'm going to make on this particular subject, because obviously I'm not in the best emotional state right now, and I don't want to go too far in another direction and express further anger. So hopefully this video has helped you guys figure out, better ways to allow other perspectives and allow other people's opinions to exist, despite the fact that you don't necessarily agree with them. Hopefully this can help you guys look at situations that have happened in your own life and reinterpret them so they're not necessarily hurting you, and so that you look at them going, I believe that person's intentions were good, and so I will no longer hold a grudge. This is what I'm trying to do currently. So, I can't blame you, and I wouldn't anyway, but I can't blame you if you are holding a grudge, because it is hurtful. But I do hope that you can see that their intentions are good, just like your intentions are good, and therefore there is some equal ground there. There is some common space where you can find connection, healing, and forgiveness. So I will end the video there. Thanks for watching. I know that this is not exactly in keeping with my average video, mostly because of the emotional state and the anger and the frustration that I'm feeling. But I do hope that it has helped you in some way. If you like this video, or at least the content of it, make sure to click the like button. You can also subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell so that you are notified when my new videos are posted, and potentially see videos that I'm not necessarily angry in. And then finally, if you can support me via Patreon or financially, I would love to have you over on my Patreon page as a financial supporter, helping me to create future content and keeping this channel ad-free. So thanks for watching. I will talk to you again soon. Bye.